Hello, everybody. I am thirteene, and tonight I'm going to be playing another fan favorite. So, this is going to be Soul Sisters. I know one of my more popular videos on YouTube at the given moment is actually Martyr Proc, so I do want to take just 1 second. This is going to be one of those moments where, like, I could be completely wrong. People in the comments should be yelling at me, do all the nasty things, but so Martyr Proc and Soul Sisters kind of started off as the same deck. Martyr Proc, though, is based off the combo of Martyr of Sands with Sarah Ascendant to basically try to keep your life total high, gain life in big chunks, and then eventually be able to recurse these two 1-drops with Proclamation of Rebirth, hopefully off a forecast or in a pinch off of the actual cast. But the name here comes from Martyr of Sands and Proclamation of Rebirth, where tonight we're going to be playing Soul Sisters, which is a little bit more based off of the concept of having all the different soul effects, the creatures that gain you life when they enter. So if anybody wants to correct me on this, feel free. I do believe they started off with all the 1-drops that gain life. This kind of diverges into two strategies off of that, though. It was a very powerful effect, but they do two different things and have two different game plans. So coming back tonight, we're going to be playing a very expensive build of Soul Sisters. So Soul Sisters is actually a budget deck. You can build this insanely cheap, but I have the lands. I kind of wanted to play with some of the more expensive cards. Also, I'm recording videos. I'm trying to make them worth watching, hedging out those little bets of being able to sacrifice Horizon Canopy. I'm hoping is something that you enjoy. If not, let me know. Like, I will go back down and rebudgetize this. But we have a couple of cards here that we can easily cut. The mana base is easily 90% of the cost of this deck. So we can really cut it back. To kind of break it down, though, so Soul Sisters, where this is different than Martyr Proc is we have these soul/warden effects that say whenever a creature enters the battlefield, either in general or under your control, you may gain a life or you gain a life. So we're basically always going to be doing this. There are some fringe cases, but more than likely we're just always going to try to gain life off of this. Then off of this effect, we also end up getting a couple of 2-drops. We also have a Johnny's Welcome. There's a couple of effects that do this, but Uriok Champion has some insanely relevant text here against Burn, against Death Shadow, and it's going to make it so that it's protection from red and black. It can block for days. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may gain a life. Again, that's the main thing that we're doing here. And then the guy that makes it all happen here is Norn the Wary. So Norn is whenever a player plays a spell or a creature attacks, you exile him and then bring him back at the end of turn. So basically, he's very hard to kill. He's very easy to trigger, and he really doesn't like to die. So he's going to be popping in and out, and every time that he re-enters, we're going to gain life. And because we have a lot of cheap creatures that don't really have huge effects on their own, and because we're going to be abusing Norn's effect to actually get exiled and come back, we have Genesis Chamber. And Genesis Chamber says whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, if Genesis Chamber is untapped, we're never going to try to tweak that with this deck, at least not in this current build, then that creature's controller creates a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token. So we are hopefully going to be flickering Norn, making a bunch of 1-drops, gaining a ton of life. Whenever a creature enters, we're going to get a Myr. The Myr's going to enter. We're going to gain another life. We have multiple soul effects. Let's gain a lot of life. So we're hoping to drag this on a little bit and hopefully get just a ton of life triggers, a ton of Myrs, and then we have a couple of different options and places to go from there. Assuming that we go wide enough, we get Goblin Bushwhacker, we get a Kick Him, give all of our Myrs and all of our little soul effects, +1/+0 and haste. Hopefully just swing out for a big lethal attack. This is going to work really well against Death Shadow strategies. Basically, if we can go wide, we're going to do well. Elves probably does that better than we do, but this is our backup plan. And then to help benefit the fact that we're gaining a ton of life, we have Archangel of Thune. So Archangel's going to make it so that whenever a creature enters, all of our creatures get a +1/+1 counter. This deck is very weak to Wrath of God effects, and there are a lot of decks in Modern, like Black-White Midrange. Basically, if Wrath of God has a text box, some of their matchups are just going to obliterate us. But then, because we don't want to just rely on the go wide strategy, we also have Perforos, God of the Forge. So, kind of coming back, this is a budget deck. at its heart. If we take a look at this, Perforos is 20 bucks in paper. This could easily be Impact Tremors. It's essentially the same effect, but Perforos allows us to actually pay mana to give all of our creatures +1/+0 until end of turn. He's also 4 mana. He's also a god. He's never really going to be a creature. And Impact Tremors is $1. It was a common in a fairly recent set. But same effect. This gives us reach. Also means that we can just ping our opponent to death. Gets around Leyline, all those fun things. But yeah, that's going to be our deck. We also end up running the Spike Feeder combo. So Spike Feeder with Archangel of Thune will actually allow us to gain infinite life. We can remove a counter from Spike Feeder. We can gain some life. Archangel of Thune puts a 1/1 counter back on Spike Feeder. That's just infinite life. That ends up winning us a lot of the matchups. And this deck is a ton of fun. So Johnny's Pridemate is also going to be one of our big finishers. Whenever we gain life, it gets a 1/1 counter. Most people from Standard are pretty familiar with it. But yeah, just Soul Sisters. Look at them. There's also the new Soul Mister in Standard. Like I said, there's like 6 cards that give this effect for 1 to 2 CMC. So we can really abuse this, but most of the power from this deck actually comes from Genesis Chamber, because we will be abusing it significantly better than our opponents would be able to. And that's the deck. So like I said, if you're looking for builds of this or looking for different variants, you can try to look for Martyr Proc, but they did kind of split into 2 coherent thoughts. This one is enter the battlefield triggers, and Martyr Proc is keep your life total high. But definitely taking the play with this deck. And we have a couple of pretty decent things here. So Horizon Canopy is one of our expensive cards. It gets to cycle. We have to pay life for it, but we have a little bit of interaction. We have some life gain. We have some card draw. And Bushwhacker is going to be kind of weak here, but I'm good to keep this. We are very land light. Westvale Abbey. Also, if you take a look at our deck list on the far right-hand side, Westvale Abbey is actually listed twice because I didn't quite get the filtering correct. But this is a way to sack all of our Murs to get a giant flyer indestructible. Leyline here means we're probably playing against Bogles. It's not impossible. It's ad nauseum. It's not impossible. It's some variant of Prison. If this is Bogles, let's hope that... Nope, it's ad nauseum. Alright, so we got to be quick, and that's not something this deck does well. It is possible that we gain enough life that ad nauseum can't lightning storm us to death, but we have a wee bit of a slow hand for that. Alright, so there's a Soul Warden. Dawn of Hope's going to require us to pay 2 anytime we gain life. If we end up top decking a land, that means that our Vampire will gain us some life and we can draw a card. Soul Warden's just coming down here. It's basically the best thing that we've got, and we're probably going to be a little slow for ad nauseum, but we'll see what we can do. This Horizon Canopy is going to make it hard for us to gain enough life for it to matter. Alright, and opponent must have a pretty nutty hand if they're willing to go off of Lotus Blooms. But always yield. We're not going to be able to do 20. Probably if they have Phyrexian on life 30 before they can lightning storm us to death. Opponent did find a second land. Alright, so just taking the first stock list here, they're eventually going to draw their entire deck and cast Lightning Storm targeting us. Whenever they discard a land, it ends up putting 2 charge counters on and deals X damage for every charge counter. They end up having 20 lands, which equates to like 60 damage. That's going to be super bad. Alright, so Ruined Halo makes it so that Soul Warden's not going to do anything. And our best shot here is to go with the Johnny's Pridemate, and hopefully we're not dead on their turn. It's quite likely we're dead on their turn, though. This path to exile is quite bad for us. Lotus Bloom comes down. Alright, so they have 9 mana. They only need 6 to go off. Alright, and they're on Oblivion Ring. So they must not have the kill here. I'm actually going to take advantage of the fact that we're going to lose Johnny's Pridemate here and just get a land out of it. This will let us get a mountain. Unfortunately, Bushwhacker's going to cost double red, so we're still going to need to draw a land. But at least Perforos can come down. We can Dawn of Hope and draw a card. If they are in a little bit of a slower start, we're going to be kind of okay. And this looks like we're going to be on Dawn of Hope. So first things first, Dawn of Hope. We're going to swing in, gain life off the vampire, trigger to draw a card. It very well could have been Perforos is going to be our best draw there. If we get Genesis Chamber, I'll feel bad, but kind of just need to start going for it. Alright, so Archangel's not bad if we draw another land, but again, still looking a little rough. So if they don't kill us here... Oh, they're just prison. They're not ad nauseam. They have Nykthos. Alright, so if we end up drawing a land, we can Archangel. When it enters, we'll gain 2 life, put 2 counters on each of these, and swing in for 9. If they get Sphere of Safety, we're a little in the red. If they get Sphere of Safety, though, Perforos gets to come down and we get to flex our... Yep, there's Sphere of Safety. We currently have 4 enchantments. Please be a land? Nope. Alright, so Perforos gets to come down. And then we get a shoot without even attacking, which is why this card is going to be good. It also means if they get Dovescape here, we're still going to be fairly in it to win. Next turn is going to be 3 creatures. 3 creatures are going to ping for 6. Oh, no fun opponent. So they got another Ruined Halo, and they're going to name Perforos. So Pridemate gets to come down. We'll gain 2. Soul's Attendant. Right now our game plan is make a giant Pridemate. And I do actually want to draw a card here. If we get a second red, the Bushwhacker can be pretty good. Or we can just find a couple of more Soul Sisters. Start grinding it up. Oh, the triggers. Oh, the triggers. Alright, so the reason I did that sequencing was to get Johnny's Pridemate to be a 6/6 out of reach of Form of the Dragon. So if they go get Form of the Dragon, they won't be able to use it here. Then that means that I can put a couple of creatures down, hopefully get a Johnny to be able to start attacking in. Currently I have to pay 5, but when they're currently at 11, that's fine. So I have to pay 6. Land? We win? Not a land. Alright. So just confirming 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Sphere of Safety, I have to pay 6. Currently have 5. We would be able to kill the opponent here. So we're probably running out of time that we can make this happen. But go ahead and go fishing for land drops. I'd love to pay 2. Thalia is a little late now that Enduring Ideal's online. Can't draw this time around, but we'll go ahead and shock a Sacred Foundry into play and start gaining a little bit more life. All the triggers. Whoops, I didn't gain life with the Soul Warden. Oh well. Currently, we're getting more critical mass than our opponent. So they're going to continue getting land drops here. Or sorry, enchantment drops. So I think we've fallen behind the point that Ajani's Pridemate should be able to kill them, but we should be gaining enough life that Form of the Dragon won't be doing anything. Phyrexian life here is a nice pad, though. If they end up getting Solemnity, we're going to be unable to get back from that. Alright, Path to Exile can actually catch us back up on lands. So what does this actually mean? I think it means we start off with Bushwhacker. All the triggers. And for now, I do actually want to pay. Always yes. Always yes. And I still want to pay. I have to make sure I hit my land drops here. Now we're going to say no. Alright, then Horizon Canopy for turn. All the triggers. All the triggers. Then we can path it in step and then hopefully attack in. But if there's a Solemnity here, I don't believe we have an out for it. So we can get Spike Feeder and go infinite, but we're drawing more cards than opponent. Well, I guess they're technically taking 2 out of their deck at once. We can Genesis Chamber. They won't be able to kill us, but we will die from decking. So they're taking 2 cards out per turn. I actually think we're actually ahead in this. I just have to stop drawing. They won't be able to kill us, and they should mill up first as long as they continue taking cards out. This is going to be a very boring game to watch, though. Oh, Assemble the Legion's going to gain a significantly more life than it's going to cost us. Alright, then Bushwhacker doesn't do anything for us here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab another land. Alright, so make the land drop, doesn't really matter. There's Archangel, all the triggers again. All the triggers. Alright, well, we actually might fall behind on clock here, but I'm going to say always no at this point. Or I guess it won't let me. Fun. Yeah, we're going to fall behind on clock here. That's not great. But you can see the power of this deck. Look at the size of all these things. Alright, so yeah, we're going to be on Wear Tear in the sideboard. Yep, so muster counter goes on Assemble the Legion. We're going to get 1,000,000 triggers. our Johnny's Pride Mate is going to be massive. And then just to confirm, we have Path to Exile, we have Genesis Chamber, we have Dawn of Hope, Westvale Abbey. It's unfortunate that we'd win this, but because of all the clicking through everything, we're not going to be able to take advantage of it. Because every time that a muster counter goes off, we're going to end up having to go through all of our triggers again. We're going to have an infinitely large board, and we're going to be able to attack in through the Sphere of Safety, but it's not going to matter. Because we're falling behind on clock trying to step through all of this. Like, opponents eventually end up getting like 30 tokens off of this assemble, but we're going to be gaining life for every single one of them every time it comes in. Let's see what they want to go get. Overwhelming Splendor. Alright, well, these are 1/1 counters, so we're still massively huge. And then... oh, I can't activate abilities of lands? Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If we top deck a land, I can still attack in. If we don't, I'll probably call it there. Yeah. So, again, we won this game. If we were sitting at a table, we could basically just F6 until they mill out. But because we end up getting 3 triggers for every enter the battlefield effect, we're going to fall behind on clock. So we won that game, but it's a qualified win in the fact that we have to let opponent do what they're doing. All right, so as far as what we want, Wear Tear is fantastic. Knight of Autumn is fantastic. Perforos needs to stay in. Archangel of Thune will make every single one of our creatures a threat, so Ruined Halo is awful. We're still going to get ahead on Genesis Chamber. Protection from Red and Black isn't that relevant here. It will survive a Form of the Dragon attack. And I guess it'll actually attack in through Assemble the Legion, but we're going to have a couple of flyers. Yeah, that was unfortunate. We were going to eventually get infinite life, and we would have just won that game. But MTGO clock. I think we're good without the Legion's Landing. We had a very slow start that game, too, which is unfortunate. So Electrickery is going to allow us to do a 1 damage target creature we don't control, and we can overload it. If their game plan is Assemble the Legion, we can take care of that there. We have multiple ways of... oh, Huntmaster has to come in because he has Reach. Whenever he transforms, he deals 2 damage to target player. Although that won't get around Leyline. But Electrickery can kill the tokens, so I'm a little inclined to keep one of these just in case they do start going a little wider than us. Our Genesis Chamber is for non-token, and they're getting token creatures. As far as cuts, the Spike Feeder combo seems bad just because it was showing how we fall behind on clock. For this matchup, like, yes, we'd have infinite life. Yes, our opponent wouldn't be able to kill us, but we're going to fall behind on clock, so this is just super unfortunate for Magic Online. We had that. Path to Exile is awful. We had to path our own creatures in order to make our land drops. Otherwise, we would have had our opponent dead like 3 turns earlier. And I guess that means Legion's Landing is probably good enough to keep. Alright, so we have a Genesis Chamber, we have a Legion's Landing, we have a Dawn of Hope, we have Souls. I'm inclined to keep this. I'd love a Norn, but is everything we need to win. Alright, opponent scries to 6, keeps 1 on top, and gets their Leyline. So, first things first, I think I'm going to start on Legion's Landing just so I can get a lifelinker into play. And then we're going to use this Arid Mesa to get a mountain, but we actually want lands at this point, so I'd prefer not to fetch, which is why I held that. We're going to pay a little bit more life off the Horizon Canopy, but our opponent's going to win very slowly if they even win at all. Like, they wouldn't have been able to kill us last game, but we had to give it to them. Alright. And that is a Soul's Attendant. So, we're going to swing in for 1, catch our life back up, and then play out Genesis Chamber so we can start exploding. Then we're just a Bushwhacker away from killing them. Seems good. And because Norn is so good with Genesis Chamber, we have to get a Sacred Foundry. That's just the position we're in. Sacred Foundry, untapped. Genesis Chamber. So they probably have Wear Tear in their sideboard, similar to us. They probably also have something similar to Disenchant. We showed them a couple of enchantments that they have to care about, but they obviously go harder on the enchantments than we do. Ruined Halo. So they actually can't call Myr here. Myr's going to be the way that we kill them. And opponent is apparently a fan of our strategy. Alright, so they ruined Halo'd Johnny's Pridemate. Cool beans. So we're going to put out a couple of Soul's Attendants here. We just want to gain a lot of life. Dawn of Hope is tempting just because that means that we can draw a card, but we need to get a couple of Myrs out, so we're just going to go for it. So, put out a non-token creature, we get a Myr, creature triggers the life gain, exactly why we're running this deck. Put both of these up here, always yield, always yield. Gain the life back. Myr enters, so we'll say always yes, and always yield. And that is 2 mana on turn 3, but we ended up getting 5 power on the field and gaining back a crap ton of life. Next turn we're going to flip the Legion's Landing, which is going to flip over Dawn of Hope. And there's a Ghostly Prison. Alright. Go wide strategy officially nuked. But it's not all bad. What we get to do now is run out this Dawn of Hope, if I tap correctly. And I can't even run out Soul Warden because I'm going to have to pay 2 next turn. Actually, yes I can, because I'll pay 2 to attack, as it is. All the triggers. Always yield. This is looking like it's going to end up about the same way as last game. So Ghostly Prison is going to make it so that we have to pay to attack. We're not going to really be able to pay to attack in this deck, and we are definitely a go wide strategy. They more than likely also have Wrath of God post sideboard, since we're one of the few go wide decks in Modern. If they clear our board, we'll probably just pack it up here. Okay. And that's all I can do there. So, may as well keep the go wide strategy going on. See all the triggers. Wish there was an auto stack. Nope. Nope. Oh, I was supposed to say yes to that one. Nope. 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 And I honestly don't think I can come up with a worse matchup for us. Maybe black-white mid-range, but we're fine with Pox. Is this Enduring Ideal? Another Ghostly Prison. So we ended up bringing in 2 Knight of Autumns and 2 Wear Tears, which means we can blow up 4 enchantments. Alright, and I guess a Johnny's Pride Mate is technically a really good way to win this. Again, like if we were sitting at a table, we could just say 4 triggers every time that it happened and just move on with our lives, and the opponent would have to go to turns as well. They wouldn't be able to catch up to our life gain, and we would eventually win this, but unfortunately, one of the few times I feel like Magic Online Clock is worse than Arena, although our turn to take this long on Arena, so I don't... that might be qualified. Alright, well... not really sure what else can be said here. Our Johnny's Pride Mate is going to be massive. We can eventually find a Knight of Autumn, blow up the Ruined Halo, pay 4 to attack in through these 2 Ghostly Prisons and win the game, but if the opponent finds their Enduring Ideal, there's just not much to talk about. We'd still end up milling them out, but Perforos would also be fantastic here. Unless this one calls Perforos. Called Uriok Champion. Alright. Well, for the sake of good content, I feel like I should just move on with my life, but we have multiple ways to win this at this point. It just does require multiple draws in a row that actually are impactful. And for argument's sake, I'm just going to keep growing this to Johnny's Pride Mate. If I were actually playing correctly, I would hold on to every creature so that when I get Perforos, I could do multiple triggers. But at this point, I would consider this a win at a paper tournament. And that's kind of just what I'm going with. Because we were falling behind on clock, but there's not much to be said about that. I have to click a lot. In fact, I'm going to move these a little closer. Alright. Well, opponent, do you think you can find a way to win? You have no cards in hand. Another Leyline doesn't do it. I'd love to be able to sack this Horizon Canopy. I know I need my lands, but the suppression fields are making it so I'd have to pay 6 to sack Horizon Canopy. And I really don't want to run out this Dawn of Hope. I don't want to have to say no to every life gain trigger. But a Norn here and a Perforos would end up representing 4 damage every turn. Alright, and I guess opponent's stepping away. Because of Ruined Halo and Meddling Mage, it probably is correct to actually have a Perforos and an Impact Tremors main board as opposed to having 2 Bushwhackers. Bushwhacker requires a critical mass of cards, kind of similar to this board state, but not having Ghostly Prison or Sphere of Safety out. Like, we would have won a long time ago if I could attack in with all of our little creatures or had gotten a Johnny's Pride Mate sooner. I can't even sacrifice this because if I try, it's going to say I have to pay 4. So that's not even a land. All right, so I'm just going to give it to opponent here. Again, we would have won this game. There's no doubt in my mind that given faster play speeds from opponent and not having to click through every trigger, we would have been able to win that. But the UI for Magic Online is a little much. It's the same reason a lot of people don't play things like Devoted Company online. They're not particularly awesome in the current meta. They still don't have the highest win rate, but when you have to click on Devoted Druid over and over again, it's easier for people to just run something along the lines of Phoenix or Storm that just has more deterministic, quicker wins, as opposed to having to actually click through infinite mana and infinite triggers on Duskwatch Recruiter and infinite counters on Walking Ballista. You can just say you're doing infinite things X times. And this hand is slow and awkward, but has our two best finishers in it. We're currently on the draw. Opponent's mulliganed. If we get a Soul Sister off the top, this hand is nuts, so I'm going to hang on to it. But this is probably an easy mulligan. I'm being fairly greedy by keeping it when we have... Let's take a look at this. So we ended up keeping in 10 one-drop Soul Sisters. On the plus side, though, if this is burn, this is our lottery matchup. And it's looking like burn. So, unique sequencing from opponent there. Alright, so because this looks like burn and we currently don't have a lot of life gain in hand, this actually does represent 4 life, but whatever. I'm going to lead on Windswept Heath because there's no reason for me to shock in Temple Garden if our opponent is on a creature light hand. They would have led on a 1-drop. If it's an Eidolon, I'm definitely going to path it, but... Alright, this is looking more like Naya Zoo / Phoenix. Ooh, doubling season. Opponent, I'm a fan. I'm officially a fan. This is looking like it's probably going to be doubling season with some Planeswalkers in it. But Faithless Looting might be there just to average out draws? I don't know. I have to get the red source here. And I need double green for Spike Feeder. We're kind of splashing green, so getting the Spike Feeder here is to castable is fine. And on the off chance that they are the Oath of Nissa doubling season build, it means that they're 4 color, but they're running Oath of Nissa to fix, so they Blood Moon. I'm going to go grab a Plains here, plus it's not super unlikely that they're burn. Or have some burn-esque elements. And we get to Pride Maiden, see what's up. So, doubling season to me does read this is going to be an unfair matchup. We try to go a little long. If they're just going to combo us, we're not going to do great. Like right now, we're just giving them a ton of time to do whatever they want to do. Alright, and Norn is great. So, we still don't have a life gain outlet, but I actually need to attack here. I should have done that before tinkering with lands. I'm expecting Pride Mate to get a bolt here. They already discarded 1. This means we get a Pride Mate and Norin. If we find any Soul Sister, we're just going to gain a ton of life. Hopefully Pride Mates grow out of bolt range. And hopefully before whatever comes down with doubling season. Because we will not bode well at that point. Yeah, not at all. There could also be an argument to Dawn of Hope and then try to set up like a Spike Feeder situation, but I'm okay to get threats out. If we find a Soul Sister, we're just in such good shape. And it's not like they can actually kill Norin. It's quite hard for anybody to do that. Oh, opponent just scoops it up. Okay. We were packing blanks here, but I appreciate it. Oh, they just scooped entirely. Alright, so for the sake of being thorough here, we probably should have lost that. I'm assuming opponent had to drop, and they just dropped. They are an unfair combo deck, and we probably would have lost that, but we should have beaten Prison, so our record is actually still kind of intact. It's a little flipped, but intact. And this is the worst hand we could possibly have. So this deck does function pretty well on like 3 lands. Our Bushwhackers are our finishers. We only have 2 of them, and they're supposed to come down after we have a critical mass of 1/1s. And Dawn of Hope requires an enabler, and also is my Funzy Splash. So goodbye. We have Essence Warden into a Johnny, into Bushwhacker. We have Dawn of Hope to try to go a little longer, a little bit better, and I love a second Soul Sister. Alright, Wooded Foothills, probably Valakut, potentially Jund. Looking like Jund. Thoughtseize. Yep. Alright, so they're probably going to take the Pride Mate. That's at least my bet. If they have a slower hand, they might take Dawn of Hope, because we can actually grind and stay caught up, stay on top of their card advantage, put out chump blockers for Termaggoyf. But yeah, this is kind of an awkward hand to look back at. Also makes our mulligan worse, because it means that we're just going to have cards picked out of our hand. But yeah, Pride Mate here is going to be the biggest threat. Liliana Edict's not really going to be able to take care of it in our deck, because we have a bunch of little things to sacrifice, which puts you on Thoughtseize or Push or Assassin's Trophy. Whereas Essence Warden might gain us some life, but Dawn of Hope can grind. Yeah, I'm sure opponent has to have an idea of what we're doing, but they don't know what they want to take. So that leans on a fairly mixed hand, at least the way I'm looking at it. And we left a Soul Warden on top. Would you look at that? Oh, sorry, Soul's Attendant. Okay, I want Sacred Foundry. So I'm going to go ahead and take that. Our deck is mostly red and white. And now I'm trying to figure out if it's worth getting the Pride Mate out with an additional drop. Because if our opponent taps out, then that means that Lightning Bolt wouldn't be able to kill it if we get 2 creature drops. Always yes, always yield. Well, opponent's on a pretty beefy Termaggoyf already. But I think we're just on a Johnny. And we do need to get a green source here, since we don't have a lot of lands going for us. We do have a minute. Jund can put a lot of pressure on, but we do have a hot second to try to stabilize. And don't have Bolt. This actually might just be green-black. And running off-color budget fetches. Nope. Alright, they got Bolt. Or Pulse. Alright. Well, it's looking like we're on Dawn of Hope, and hopefully not get killed too quick by a... Actually, that's fine. So this means we get a Dawn of Hope. Then we get a Norin. We won't be able to draw a card yet, but we can at least trigger some life gain and try to stay in this, and then start drawing cards to make up for the fact that they're trying to 2-for-1 us. So we're also not blocking with Soul's Attendant. If you're not blocking and you can get a shot in, you're supposed to attack. But more importantly, whenever a creature attacks, Norn exiles himself. Rocky! Shh. So we're not going to draw. We're going to get in our free 1-chip damage. Soul's Attendant can poke with her little staff right there. And then Norn's going to have his Exile Clause, so he's going to leave. He'll come back at end step, and we'll gain an additional life to try to help pad the fact that there's a 3/4 Goyf beating us down. And this is what the deck wants to do. So if we can survive a couple of turns or find a Genesis Chamber and opponent doesn't have a K command, we should be in pretty good spot. Alright, well, that means that they're going to get our Soul's Attendant. Norn is also kind of a wimp and left our Soul's Attendant holding. But that's what he does. he goes away. He comes back. Ooh, he didn't... Okay, that feels like he missed some free damage there. But, never fear! We have a little bit of card draw going on. Norn gets to come back. Oh, don't bolt her. Not cool, dude. Okay. That works. Alright, I'm a fan. Always yes. We get a gain a life, Dawn of Hope triggers. We would love to pay 2. Don't really want to pay a life for it, but would love to pay 2. We get a draw. And another land's not bad. Means we get a Bushwhacker, probably kill Liliana, and then draw a card. Or just draw 2. Yay, Soul Sisters! Martyr proc is sometimes called White Junt because of the ability to Ranger Vios, go pick up a couple of cards, enable Proclamation, bring them back, kind of just sit there and get small amounts of attrition back and forth. Opponent, why don't you like fun? Oh well, if they swing in with the Goyf, we get to kill Lily. I'm on board. Unless I have another blocker, but I suppose we'll see. Yep. I always got the other Goyf. Well, Norn gets to come back. Backup Norn is quite bad. Norn will trigger whenever he attacks, so it's kind of pointless to try to bushwhack in. It just won't work. And we're kind of drawing to outs here, which that's kind of an out. Oh, I probably should have missequenced that. I should have actually ran out the Horizon Canopy and paid for it. We would have had red up. But that all is fine. So, more than likely, they're going to be able to grow the Goyf. We're going to be discarding Norn to Lily, assuming that they plus her. Kind of okay with that one. I mean, that was our source of card advantage, but as far as bad things go, that's not so bad. And I need double red to actually kick this Bushwhacker, so I couldn't have done that before. There's another Goyf. Alright, goodbye, Norn. You tried. Opponent is out of action, but also has us lethal on table. And so I think our out here is path the Goyf, kick the Bushwhacker, kill Lily, die on the spot. We can Genesis Chamber, attack with Norn, get a chump blocker. Soul Warden's not the worst. Although I know I don't have enough mana to kick it. If I could kick it, I could attack in with these 3, flip the Legion's Landing. But I'd have no blockers. Yeah, this is just... This is dead. We tried. They had 3 Goyfs. Alright, so Pithy Needle. It's hard for us to kill Planeswalkers. Rest in Peace is a consideration. It takes Goyf off the table. Master of 2-for-1s. Jund usually runs Hunt, or at least they used to run Hunt Master. Bloodbraid's kind of taken over that spot. But this will get us a token when it enters. Hopefully a token off of Genesis Chamber. Enter as a creature, gain us some life, and then it'll flip over, hit some targets. Hunt Master just seems great here. Archangel actually is kind of bad. If we get to top deck, she can be alright. That might be enough reason to stay in. Opponent gets to bring in Damnation in this matchup, which, again, is the worst thing that can happen to us. Blessed Alliance is actually a fantastic 2-for-1 here. Blessed Alliance will make them sacrifice their worst creature attacking, but most of the time that's a Goyf or a Giant Scoos. It'll also allow us to untap 2 creatures, so we can hopefully either chump block or just gain some life, whatever needs to happen. It's also a way to just trigger life gain. As far as cuts, I'm not actually a huge fan of Dawn of Hope. It's just so hard to get to stick. They're also probably bringing in Abrupt Decays. Excuse the cough. Bushwhacker. We won't ever keep a board big enough to actually take advantage of that. And the double red is a little awkward, as we saw. Spike Feeder Archangel combo is actually fantastic here. Thalia is probably the cut. She's in here for the unfair matchup. Sejund is pretty fair. Like, they end up 2-for-1ing us, and they're just a huge attrition grind, and making it so that Storm can't go off or make it harder for Phoenix just doesn't seem relevant. This is probably our best setup. No rips, but we have a lot of creatures that do things. Why do we have 3 Bushwhackers? Are we on 61? No, we're not. Alright, well that's fine. I guess that means 1 rip. If we get the rip, great. If not, who really cares? Alright, and then this is Soul Warden. Johnny's Pride Mid, I'm assuming, is getting discarded, but we have our Infinite Life combo, as well as most of the mana to pay for it. Opponent has Thoughtseize, so this hand is keepable. And it means that they probably have to push the Soul Warden on 1, which means Pride Mate probably gets to stick. We've only seen Genesis Chamber against the Prison deck, though. Alright, so Pride Mate probably going away. They have time to deal with the Archangel. Pride Mate's actually representing a pretty big threat. Yep, goodbye Pride Mate. I knew you were going to die, but you fell honorably. Alright, no additional drop here. Means Soul Warden gets in. We can also go grab our Temple Garden, so we have 2 green for the Spike Feeder. Thinking back at that last Naya... Alright, opponent. No fun will be had today. The Naya doubling season deck, I'm thinking had to deal with burn in some way, because I saw that we were a life gain deck and just gave up on the spot. Alright, Redundant Archangel of Thune isn't great, so I'm going to run out the Spike Feeder. They're probably going to Wooded Foothills into a Overgrown Tomb and push it, but that means that we can just gain 4 life. This is our only piece of this half the combo. We're not running multiple Spike Feeders. This is better in a Cord deck, but what can you do? We're running out of drops here, and we kind of just need to get something out. If Huntmaster sticks, though, he should be pretty solid. Requires getting a land. I don't think we're super... I don't think we have a very good chance of actually drawing the land. Okay, command. Alright. Well, we can gain 4 life. Discard Redundant Archangel of Thune. Opponent has no idea what's in our hand. Also, that's a K command not pointed at Huntmaster. If they're K commanding, that means that they're running out of options. This is our blessing. This is our love. This is the girl you're crushing on in high school. Oh my gosh. That is exactly what I wanted. Pro black and red means that they basically have to have Skoos or Goyf. It also means we get to gain quite a bit of life. Scratch that, a lot of life. Always yes, always yield. And it is on. Attacking again to trigger Norin, get our free chip damage in. This actually could block a Bloodbraid Elf, but I'm kind of okay to gain 2 life and hit them for 1 and still a 3 life swing, and their life is going to matter more than us. I know Jen's been moving away from Bob and more into the 4-drop slot, but if they are the Bob build, it means that Bob's becoming less of an out. And given our current hand, we cannot crack Horizon Canopy. We need a lot of lands. Assuming Archangel hits, even just a land, life gain, trigger, buff everybody, make this a 2/2 is going to be super relevant. Norn doesn't keep his counters, but Norn does other things. Norn's that special dude that does one thing right. Alright, so there's a Blood Braid, I called that. And a Bolt. They can't bolt us. Well, they can bolt us, but... Well, that's 2 bolts down and a K command down. Land? Oh, yeah, but you know what I like, deck. You know what I like. I've had a lot of decks treat me wrong lately, but you're doing right by me. Alright, so Plains is our most relevant. Mountain is for Bushwhacker. The odds of cheesing out a kill with Bushwhacker actually seem kind of high, so I'm going to grab the Mountain just... Oh, I cut them all. Yeah, I cut them all. Alright, so let's take a look at this. We have Norn, Perforos. Nothing that actually cares at this point, so I'm going to grab a Plains. And... Huntmaster. Norn's going to run away. Huntmaster's going to enter. Going to gain 3 life, get a 2/2. We'll gain 4 life. Bring in the little wolf friend. And again, they need to have another Blood Braid, which I wouldn't put past them, but if they have any removal that's pointed at Huntmaster, and the wolf token's going to trade with Blood Braid. So, by all means, chip in for 1. Besides, we're gaining so much incidental life at this point that it's fine. And if they spend this turn... Oh. Lame. Alright, well, we keep Norn. Damnation is the worst card for us. Another land? That's actually kind of okay. Perforos here would probably be really good. And actually, I'm going to... Yeah, that's all fine. I'm going to crack Horizon Canopy here. As much as I want to get Archangel out, I don't have a life gain engine. So I want to try to find a Genesis Chamber or... in all honesty, that's fine. Goif is the bigger issue. I know Skoos will probably grow faster, but... it is whatever. And... just double check. So... that requires double white, multiple reds, multiple whites. Yeah, I'm not doing anything this turn. So, K command here blows us out. We're probably just going to move on at that point. Soul Sister would be pretty good. Soul Sister enters. If it's the right one, it'll actually gain life off the... Alright, take that back. So our best bet now is... probably Dawn of Hope. We need 2 pieces before this goes off, and we're going to be starting to get hit for a lot by the Skoos. So Dawn of Hope, Genesis Chamber, and a repeatable life gain source would be just so great. That's pretty good. Can't block Skoos, but everything else is free game, and it is going to be staying back now. I think our life totals are relevant enough that blocking 3 damage from a Blood Braid is high enough upside. Now I think we're back to land being great. Maybe. Yeah, Skoos might have been a good enough reason to bring in Rip. Alright, Alright, well, again, as far as bad things go, that's not horrible. So we're on a 2-turn clock from the Scoos, just double checking, so it's going to grow by 1, 2, make it a 9-9. We're going to gain 2, gain 2. We're gaining 4 life a turn. Alright. I mean, Archangel's coming down now. We're going to have a threat. Although that means that they probably have 3 more pieces of removal in hand. Yep. Norn runs away. And Sacred Foundry is quite bad. Alright, so that means Archangel comes down. Then probably have to chump block for a turn. Getting in for 2 isn't nearly as good as surviving a removal spell. Norn re-enters. Hey, they don't have removal. Great. Is it another Maelstrom Pulse, though? Yes, it is. Alright, so we're still good with Genesis Chamber. Genesis Chamber for Norn every turn is going to make it so that we have chump blockers for the Scoos. I mean, this is technically just another chump blocker until we get a Genesis Chamber. We do have outs. They're not great, but we do have them. If they have a push, we're out. If they have a bolt, we're out. Yep. All right. GG's, Jund. You did what you're supposed to do. So that does feel like a horrible matchup. Even with a couple of the upgrades that I made, we need better card draw. It would have also been better if we actually were on our ideal hands. Game 1 was kind of a mulligan disaster, but we did show some of the power of it. And then here we have nothing castable. That's actually kind of impressive that we have nothing castable. This is actually quite good. And unfortunately, I think we need to keep this just on the off chance that we're playing against Storm or Phoenix. Both those decks are high enough percentage of the meta that I can't really just discount it. We need red-white here. If we're playing against Burn, this is going to be painful, but we gain life, so it should be alright. Next turn, we can get a Stomping Ground tapped. Alright, so Darkslick Shores means fairies, possibly ad nauseam. And just on the off chance that they are fairies, I want to get the push out of the way. Awesome. Looks like it's probably ad nauseam, so we're going to need to speed up our clock. Norn comes down first, so when Soul Warden attacks in, he flickers. Comes back. Life gain. And I don't have anything to do, so I'm just going to yield. Let opponent know that they can do anything during their turn. We'll fetch it instead. Alright, so this is Esper Fastlands. I think that's closest representing ad nauseam. Oh, I fetched away the first Thalia. Okay, so I attack in with Soul Warden, Norn flickers away. Opponent kills Soul Warden, kind of whatever, but Thalia is going to survive. Thalia tells opponent to kill Soul Warden on the stack. This might be 1 more damage. So opponent apparently has no interaction. Not really sure what to make of that. So they've hit their 3 fast lands. Could they be Cheerios? Get our chip beats in. Move to main 2. Tap out for Genesis Chamber. Start getting Murs. Start gaining life. And figure out what the heck opponent's doing. You typically want to run fast lands if you want to do something on turn 1, 2, and 3. So they're probably holding Cryptic Command and have a bad mana base. They have a Judge Island. Okay, so it is ad nauseam. That's fine. Very, very slow start for ad nauseam, but we're potentially dead this turn, so... Well, next turn. They have to pay 1 for Thalia. And most awkward hand ever. So our curve has 2 5-drops, a 4-drop, and a 3-drop, and we have 2 5-drops in hand. Alright, well, we can't do anything, so if you have Simian Spirit Guide ad nauseam, that's just game. Apparently it's not. Alright, so land here should be lethal. We'll get 2 triggers, gain a ton of life, end up putting 2 counters on everything, end up having 3 times 4 for oh, well, we'd at least put them into negative. It's weird, like, I recorded ad nauseam, but I wasn't expecting it to actually do anything here. Like, it just wasn't part of the meta, and I kind of wanted to explain the deck, but... whatever. Alright, so gaining life isn't going to do anything at the given moment. We can't even hit opponent negative yet. That is one of the issues with trying to do fair things in Modern. Alright, Soul's Attendant comes down. We gain life. We have 2 turns before Lotus Bloom comes down, but they can pay 5 for ad nauseam, so... if they get 1 more land and they have ad nauseam in hand, which, given their slow start, they probably do, we're just dead. We're up to 28. If my math was right last time around, though, they can hit us for 60-ish. I still have it pulled up. So, Lightning Storm, 3 plus X. So it's actually 20 lands. It's 43 damage. We're at 28. So we're close to surviving. All the life gain triggers, though. All of them. Oh, we actually would kill them next turn if we draw a land, because Thalia would end up getting 2 triggers, hit them down to 0, and then they'd die from the Phyrexian Unlife. Top deck land is actually lethal. Alright, I have Hopes and Dreams again. And opponent's starting to use their battery land to actually get up to 6 mana, so... land? Yay! Hopes and Dreams? Yeah, Norn, run away at our Archangel. Doesn't want to buff you anyway. All the triggers, all the grow, all the awesome. Oh, they have Angel's Grace. Well, that'll stop Thalia, then they'll still go negative, but then they can untap and... yeah, not great. Yep, there's the Angel's Grace. They go to 1. So on the plus side, though, they can ad nauseam with 6 mana, but then they can't Lightning Storm unless they get all 4 Simian Spirit Guides. I still think we're dead, though. Just a little too slow. Yep. So that's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If they hit a land drop, it's basically over. Norn will gain us a little bit of life. Grow all the things. Oh, if they cast Lotus Bloom, it's going to cost 1, net them 2. Yeah, we're pretty super dead. But we'll have 6. Ad nauseam is technically an instant, so they might wait. I can't imagine they want to, but they can. Currently tapped down with a giant board, though. It does show the strength of the deck being able to grow. We do get fairly deterministic if we see the right pieces. Archangel even has lifelink, so we'll gain life, get another trigger on everything. As much as I thought Dawn of Hope was built for this deck, I'm starting to think that it's just pulling the direction away from its core strategy. It doesn't have nearly as explosive of a start. It'd be great to have it, but opponents either trying to figure out if they can go off or figure out how to survive. So they either have instant speed ad nauseam, or they're probably sitting on a Slaughter Pact for Thalia. But if they let us gain much more life, they're not going to be able to Lightning Storm us to death. Oh boy. What does that mean? This is going to gain us more life than the Archangel. So I think I have to do this pre-combat. Then that will gain us enough life to get out of reach of Lightning Storm, assuming that they had all their lands, which I don't even think they have anymore. Always yes, always yield. Nope, always yield. We have a 1918 Thalia. That's amazing. This deck is all kinds of fun. Alright, was not expecting that at all. And so I actually have to recede one of my previous comments. Stony Silence also stops Pentad Prism, and it stops Lotus Bloom. So this actually gives us enough turns to kill them. This is definitely something you want to board in. As far as our artifacts, Genesis Chamber is a triggered ability, not an activated ability. Pithing Needle doesn't do anything about mana abilities, which both Lotus Bloom and Pentad Prism are. They end up running no fetch land, so we can't just take them off of a land. Night of Autumn can hit their Phyrexian Unlife, Wear Tear can hit their Mana Rocks as well as their Phyrexian Unlife. Perforos is interesting. It's a really good way to get around Phyrexian Unlife, but that might just be trying too hard. At 4 mana, he's hard to cast. Archangel lets us go tall, but we have multiple pieces to let that happen. I meant to only have 2 Bushwhackers in the deck. They do require critical mass, and they cost double red, so they're a little hard to cast. So I'm okay trimming one. Us gaining infinite life isn't actually super irrelevant, but we're bringing in a lot of pieces. So like right now we have 4, 5, 6 that we're bringing in. Thalia is still fantastic. Path to Exile is awful. So it'd basically be, do we want Archangel over Dawn of Hope? If we have time to grind, we're probably... I'm good with that exchange. Because that's going to require us to have a life gain engine as well as time to tap out. And Archangel is just going to be a win condition at that point. All Alright, so we have a hate piece, we have a couple of Soul Sisters, and a clock. This is super awkward and part of the reason I don't like running 3 of them, but we can start off on a plateau and just do fun things. Oh, we got another Soul Sister. Great. Alright, that means I'm just going to go get the Sacred Foundry now. I know I'm going to want it. Soul's Attendant! Yay, life gain! Currently up a game in the match. Sorry about that. I've had a deep cough lately. Alright, so this means that I get to a Johnny's Pride mate into multiple Soul Sisters and then just fling out. So a Johnny's Pride mate being able to attack next turn seems like the winner. Always yes, always yield, yes. Grow the Pride mate. And then most of the time they have Slaughter Pact and they can bring in Fatal Pushes. It seems awkward as anything to bring in Fatal Pushes against my deck, but that's what they're doing, that's what they're doing. Where's the 2 mana side, unfortunately? But we have 2 mana now. So it's going to be a... Sure, why not? Soul's Attendant on the off chance that they kill Soul's Attendant and Surgical. It's not even remotely likely, but I think that's where we're at today. Then combat first. Because this is technically 2 untapped mana. If they do have a kill spell, they would use the shards for it first. And then cast Wear. They're essentially trying to get to 5 mana with a Phyrexian Unlife out, or 6 mana. So taking away 2 is just how you end up getting the incremental advantage against this deck. Backup plan is fantastic, but we're going to gain 2 life here. Johnny's Pride mate's going to kill them next turn. Oh, I should have cast the Bushwhacker without kicker. That was my bad. It was bad sequencing. I was wanting to kick it so that all the little dudes would get in for more, but we're not going to be able to kick a Bushwhacker and cast one next turn, so we'd end up gaining 3 life, hit them for 3 more. Now they're potentially going to have a turn to Angel's Grace. Alright, Archangel, mildly awkward. So we have 2 turns on the Lotus Bloom. If they end up Pentad Prism on their turn, we'll still have another turn to do this. So, correcting my mistake for last turn, we're actually going to cast the first one. We get a lot of life gain triggers. Then, get our beats in. They're going to Angel's Grace go down to 1. Then if they have Phyrexian Unlife, we can just blow it up, so that seems fantastic. I really like Wear Terror because of the fuse ability. You can destroy an enchantment and an artifact for 3 mana, or pick and choose in the moment as you need it. Control player in me loves this card. I bought foils, they're my best friends. Yep. So, efficient use of mana, just tear this, opponent's tapped out, that's game. Is this a concession lock? No, it's not. Alright, I'm going to do the sporting thing and just attack in. If we end up missing a Norn trigger because of that, we do, but... Well, at least we're broken even again. Losing to Jund seems completely in the realm of possibility, and... I'm still not exactly sure what that Naya deck was supposed to be doing, but they either had to go or they just knew the matchup was going to be horrible for them. we should have beat enchantments. I'm writing this as upside of we probably should have cashed out at this point, although that's probably just me being optimistic. This hand has 4 Soul Sisters, and our deck is called Soul Sisters, so I'm going to keep it. We can only cast 1 at the given moment, but we can kick the Bushwhacker. We're playing against 8-Whack! Alright, so we're going to check how many lightning bolts they've got. There's a Soul Warden. Here you go, opponent. We'd like to gain some life. Oh, Mog Fanatic. Well, we're going to gain a life. Yep. No fun, opponent. No fun. So they're actually going to be using our... Ugh, this is awkward. I think that's putting us on... They held up Bolt. I think I want them to go all in on this Foundry Street, and then I'm going to path it. Alternatively, I could just run out a Soul Sister and the Bushwhacker, but... actually, Lord goes first. So we'll take our beats for 2 this turn. It seems like a fair compromise. Opponent has 3 cards in hand. We're going to be at 15. And that's great. Although, I do have to say, I'd absolutely love it if we could draw another white source. We're likely not attacking very quickly with this deck, so Bushwhacker on defense seems completely reasonable. And when that gets out, it should just be game over. We're going to be gaining life for every spell that they cast, and we're going to have infinite blockers. Opponent is flooding out fairly hard, though. Alright, so Foundry Street represents the most damage. Going to take that trade easily. Assuming we get white, this champion's going to block the Bushwhacker. Seeing as we don't get white, but another Soul Sister, we're just going to stay at a nice, healthy life total. And it's possible that they end up getting green and going through multiple Burning Tree emissaries into a Bushwhacker, but I'm going to get my chip in while I can. Alright, that's great. I like that. Alright, opponent's got 1 card left in hand. It's likely either a Bolt or another land. Yep, there's a Bolt. Alright, super awkward hand continues to be awkward. To the surprise of nobody. Yeah, that's game. Okay, so Genesis Chamber. Our opponent usually is going to abuse this just about as much as we are. I think early builds of that were actually using this. So we don't want to give them any more Murs, and we don't want to give them something to bushwhack. That's an easy cut. Blessed Alliance is a pseudo-awkward removal spell, wherever it went. Where did it go? Ah, there we go. Sacrifices an attacking creature. It's mainly going to take a token, but considering we're cutting 3 primary combo pieces, that's where we're at. Knight of Autumn, gain us some life, potentially get out of range of their 2Xs. Perforos might be a little expensive. Electrickery's in for sure. So we don't deal with Lingering Souls that well, and we potentially give our opponents a lot of tokens off of Genesis Chamber. Electrickery is just going to take out all of their tokens and all their X1s. So that means we're probably cutting Perforos, and Thalia is just a great blocker. We're probably not going to grind out very well with Dawn of Hope. Opponents saw the writing on the wall. We were gaining life. They weren't doing anything. They also did flood out pretty hard, but these aggro matchups are what this deck is made to prey upon. We have lands, Electrickery, Blessed Alliance. Archangel is awkward. We don't have a lot of base life gain, but we can start off with Electrickery on turn 2, depending on how hard they explode, or we can just tip off a couple of their creatures with Blessed Alliance. I like it. Opponent probably meant to get in. Yeah, opponent said man in chat. Pile driver's a little more awkward for me to deal with this hand. And we draw our other Archangel. Alright, so odds of Electrickery are fairly high. Odds of Blessed Alliance are pretty much absolute. Prefer not to shock unless absolutely required. Yep. Okay, so Electrickery is going to kill the two X1s that make blocking miserable. Pile driver can only get in for one. Hopefully Blessed Alliance will snag that next game, or next turn. Oh, well, there's two of them. And that makes it a little easier to pull off. Unfortunately, I have to take a shock to get a green. But Knight of Autumn. So we can gain 4 and have a blocker, or we can get 2 1/1 counters and still net a bolt. So we're going to gain 4, get a blocker. Yep, still would have dead to bolt. So these are going to get in for... wow, that's a lot. Yep, not great. Legion's at landing is slightly awkward. So escalating costs 2. I can make him sack a creature, chump block the... I actually think I'm just dead. So I can Legion's Landing and get a chump blocker. These are going to be at least 6/2s depending on what he has in hand. He's going to sack a creature, which is going to be one of these, and I'm chump blocking one, and it's still getting... Actually, it depends on how this works out. If it remembers the number of attacking goblins when it gets the trigger, we're going to die, but if it counts the number of alive when I do it, we're fine. So awkward. Why do we keep drawing both Archangels? Alright, so in response to the trigger, target player sacrifices an attacking creature. Okay, sack the Bushwhacker over here. Hopefully that means it's going to get +2/+0. It does. Sweet. So we're alive another turn. Block here. Okay, well that means we're probably dead. Essence Warden, a little too slow. Alright, well, awkward Archangels. Huntmasters, again, seems a little interesting. Just get more chump blockers. It's cheaper than Archangel. His pseudo lifelink. Okay, so Soul's Attendant into Pride Mate. I don't think that's good enough. It's like our best start, but I don't think it's good enough. We get to recycle the Horizon Canopy on 3 and look for another 1-drop, though. It's just so tempting. Plus, I get to do like all of this pain-free. If they bolt this, it just means that they take the turn off. Yep. Knight of Autumn's another really good draw. Alright, so that means they probably don't have the bolt. Blessed Alliance is actually quite good for me. So, I can... They're probably going to Bushwhack. I can block an X1. That's going to be a 2/2 and gain life. I think I'm better off with just Knight of Autumn. It requires a shock, but... Gain 4 life. Johnny's Pride Mate being a 3/3 is actually relevant. We have a better long game than they do. Looks like they're trying to figure out if they want to bolt or not. Goblin Grenade. Alright. Let's go kind of deep. Well, I'll happily trade Knight of Autumn for another half of one of these cards. It ended up gaining us 2 life. Get rid of the real one, although I don't think it really matters for them. Dawn of Hope. Oh boy, this is when this card is so awkward. So I can make them sack an attacking creature if that's where we're at, or I can escalate next turn, or gain life and draw a card next turn. Alright, well, Dawn of Hope comes down, and we'll figure out what to do with Blessed Alliance when the moment comes. Yep. Alright, so Blessed Alliance, actually, I can get rid of a creature on the field, or I can... whatever, you just sacking a creature. So sacking a creature here is going to cost me 1 life to save me 2 life, or I can gain 4 life. But I think getting rid of the permanent is more effective than getting rid of a just generic creature. Or just gaining life. Gaining life by itself doesn't do a whole lot. And Horizon Canopy is going to get recycled. If we draw the 5-drop, we're good. And there is our Huza. Alright, that should be game opponent. Pro Red. Life gain. You do have 3 cards in hand, but this is where we start to pull ahead. And there's the Bushwhacker. Okay, so we're currently taking 7. We're going down to 9. Oh wait, that is trample, so we're taking more than that. And then we get a draw card before making our land drop. Arid Mesa can get us a tap land. Actually, it's probably going to get us a mountain so that we can actually draw off of Dawn of Hope off their next creature. Yep, Fork Bolt seems fair. Alright, so I have an option here. I can get rid of their Trampler, which has been doing more damage, or I can get rid of the bigger toughness guy. I think I'm getting rid of the Trampler, just because I can fog more damage in the future. But if they have Goblin Grenade, we're dead. Alright. Well, that was our free matchup, so that's unfortunate. We didn't cash out. Again, kind of like going back to our matches, though. So we ended up losing to Prison, despite the fact in paper we would have won that, just because of the time for the triggers. We ended up beating the Naya Doubling Season deck for just dropping 7 minutes in. I'm still not exactly sure what happened there. I do think our opponent either had to step away or just knew that we were a life gain deck and their matchup was horrible. I've seen that happen several times on Magic Online. We ended up losing to Jund. That's pretty apparent. We're a bad version of a Jund deck. We are white Jund. This is the expensive build of it, but we're still not quite the most powerful cards in the format using the best fair cards around. We do have some pretty good cards, but they just don't compare with Liliana and Assassin's Trophy, and Genesis Chamber is kind of cute, but it helps your opponent, so we're never going to win that matchup, especially when they have K-Command. They can just 2-for-1 us all day. Then we ended up... I can't remember what this was. I'm so bad at remembering my matchups. So this was... Come on, you can do it. Oh, Ad Nauseam. We wrecked Ad Nauseam. I don't think we should have wrecked Ad Nauseam, but for some reason, we just absolutely wrecked them. Spell-based matchups are hard. We end up getting things like Eidolon of Rhetoric, Rule of Law, Ruined Halo, Thalia in our sideboard, but we didn't really come stacked for that tonight. Pretty Like, we wrecked them, though. Like, I think it was a little bit of an awkward draw from opponent, but we ended up 2-0 in that. Not too much to contribute there. We ended up having something like 80 power on the field on turn 6-ish. Like, we did... Our deck did what it was supposed to, and when we're going unchecked, it's very powerful. And then 8 whack, we probably should have won. If I were to actually put this on a spreadsheet, I still think we probably would have ended up at 2-3. I think the doubling season combo deck probably should have been able to beat us. They had bolts, they had a stronger win condition. They didn't stick around, so I'm not really sure about that, but we definitely won against Prison. Just the fact that we ended up getting like 15 triggers right off the bat was just... They would have milled before us, they wouldn't have been able to kill us with Form of the Dragon, and we had a critical board mass that was just getting better every turn. In our sideboard game, we ended up having 4 sideboard cards that we could draw to, and they only had 1 piece out that was hating on us. But they got to Enduring Ideal. Again, they're going to mill out before us. Our cards were stronger, they just... Our interface for Magic Online ended up pulling us back in that game. And we probably should have won this, but... I'll account that to probably bad mulligan decisions, as well as opponent did have a pretty good draw. They had exactly what they needed to win. So potential 4-1 here. We ended up going 2-3. Probably actually should have been 2-3. But we had good matchups. So this deck, the cheap version doesn't run Spike Feeder. It does run Archangel of Thune. Basically, anything that has an instance of life gain is better in this deck, where Martyr Proc cares about your overall life total. So we end up needing to run Norn the Wary and Genesis Chamber. As part of that consideration, I ended up cutting one of each of those cards. Norn is horrible in multiples because he leaves, comes back, you only need 1. When we were playing against Jund, we drew the second Norn, and we were very happy to discard him. But that combo is probably our most powerful synergy in this deck, so we probably can't skimp on that. Bushwhacker was super awkward. When you end up getting that number of Murs out, having another win condition seems fantastic. I personally would have preferred to have just seen Impact Tremors. It would have beat Prison. It would have been everything that we needed. Dawn of Hope is a new card. I know... I'm going to blank on his name. One of the guys in research and development right now is a huge fan of Soul Sisters and 8-Rack, and we're getting a lot of new pieces that could potentially go into these decks. This looks like it was designed for it. You gain life, you pay 2, you draw a card. When you're out grinding, this is a great way to get attrition. I don't really think there's been much precedent for gaining life and drawing cards, other than maybe Alhamar's Archive. Being able to draw or gain double, not necessarily gaining life going to card draw. This did feel like it's what the deck wanted. 2 mana is way too much. When you take a look at our curve, the games that we lost, we had 2 Archangels in our opening hand, or Archangels in our closing hand, whatever you want to call it at the end. Perforos was just everything that we wanted. Being able to give fire breathing to our team is exactly what Bushwhacker was supposed to do. It was also pinging our opponent. It is legendary. Impact Tremors also, again, cheap. The green, if you're building this deck, you're probably wanting to build it as a budget consideration. If we go back to the actual deck list itself, I have it pulled up over here. Archangel of Thune, $15 in paper. Oriok Champion, $20 online. Perforos, $20 in paper, could be Impact Tremors. And then everything else is basically the mana base and or the sideboard specific hate pieces. You can build this deck fairly easily for under a $100 budget, potentially $50 budget, and get away with everything that you want to. It's going to be a more streamlined version. Picks apart burn, probably doesn't do great against combo, absolutely scoops to fair decks. It's just where it is. It's a really fun deck, though. We saw some of those insane board states when we couldn't attack in, and we were getting those giant creatures. Angel's Grace for a single turn stopped our opponent from taking around 12 damage, then the following turn we were attacking in for 80. Like, when we snowball, and it is fantastic. And that's what this deck does. Electrickery could potentially be main board if you're expecting more creature matchups. Like, this can be tuned for any list, and well, I'm a fan. It didn't show very well, but it does have its matchups where it excels and its matchups where it loses, and I actually don't think there's much weight give in this. Martyr Proc, you can at least play around, you can tutor different pieces, and this is just relying on the top of your deck to hopefully draw into your nut combo. I would probably lean Martyr Proc myself, but I might be biased. This is still a fine deck, and you're going to still wins. Well, everyone, thanks for watching.